Welcome to I.N.SANE's Asylum. The doctor's insane. Now, as you've seen, I did 2 movie reviews so far, but those 2 movies were not a part of the Halloween-a-thon that I was talking about. And since it takes about 3 hours to download these movies on YouTube, these reviews on YouTube, I'm only doing the ones that do not have sequels to them. So today, the first Halloween-a-thon movie I'm reviewing is called The Final. As you see on the side, it's one of the After Dark Horror Fest Volume 4 movies. I originally seen this back in 2010 on the 30 Days of Halloween on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I've been a fan of it since. It's a disturbing ending, but considering they're school police and considering some of the people in that group are stupid anyway, I feel like it's real deserved. Even though I feel sorry for this Bridget girl, but like I said, she should have gotten vengeance on the man that did what he did to her. By the way, I didn't want to bring up that spoiler too soon. I'll bring it up later. But anyway, now it's time for the spoilers. Alright, the movie begins with the girl walking into the BW's Barbecue Tavern, getting ready to order a burger and a sandwich, and she has a messed up face, a disfigured face. And when the cashier tells her that it's $4, she hands her the money, and you can see 2 of her fingers are cut off. And then she takes a seat to wait for her food, and everybody's staring at her. Even the cook kind of stares at her. And a boy asks his mother, "Why does her face look like that?" So then she finally had enough of everybody staring at her, and she kind of stands up, knocks over the table, and says, "Stop looking at me." And then she runs out crying. And then, see, this is after the movie takes place. Anyway, we then go to a week earlier, however soon that was. It's not confirmed how much that was down the road. But anyway, we go to the present, and better way of putting it. We get to see the 5 outcasts of the group, which includes Dane, the leader of the group, who inherited a house from his late uncle who died 8 months earlier. And he's lived next door to a former veteran named Parker. Dane has this friend named Jack, who plays a banjo, whatever you call that guitar. And there's also 3 other friends, Emily, Ravi, and Andy. And they all plot vengeance on their school bullies. Emily gets picked on by this group of 3 girls named Bridget, Kelly, and Heather. And Ravi gets bullied around by these 2 guys named Bradley and Bernard. Bradley breaks Ravi's camera, and it's sort of like Dane confronts him about it, and then Bradley presses him against the wall and tells him he can't do anything about it. Let me see if there's anything else before I bring up the main plot. Now, I guess that's all. Now to the day of the party. Everybody's getting ready to set up their traps. Getting things set up. And then the guests arrive, who, by the way, don't know who the host of the party is when it's really Dane and his group setting them up. All the people that are attending include Bradley and Bernard and their idiot friend Miles, along with another friend named Riggs, who wasn't able to travel with them. On their way, they get pulled over by a cop who confiscates their marijuana. Which, by the way, this cop comes in later. But anyway, Riggs ends up making the party after all. I failed to mention, yeah, there was another important plot. there's this guy named Curtis, the only one that's being good to the outcasts. So they're trying to make a plot not to invite him to this party because they don't want to torment him. But he ends up showing up. Also, there's this couple named Tommy and Nadia. And Tommy has an affair with Heather that Nadia doesn't know about. Any other? Alright, I think I named every main character that we see right here. But anyways, the 5 outcasts then set up the party, and then later on they spike the punch, so everybody's getting drugged. And then they wake up, kind of like a Saw deal, how the way Saw begins, if I remember correct, where everybody's waked up and they're all chained together, including Curtis. Dane, who's now wearing a gas mask with a voice changer inside it, tells them they promise they will not kill them, but they'll wish they had. And then Miles started making fun of them about it. So then, I think it was Jack, if I remember correct. Jack takes a cattle gun and shoots Miles in the jaw, and then shoots him in the knee. And then one of them drags him to the back room. And then up next was Bernard. Robbie takes a sword and stabs Bernard in the arm. And then makes him drink some kind of liquid that causes him to choke. And after Robbie's done doing his torment, he drops a key down to Curtis. And then Emily gets on top of, what's his name again? Bernard. He gets on top of Bernard and starts doing these, I don't know what you call these needles, but they're usually used at the swans, at tending swans, But anyway, she sticks all these needles in his neck to cause it. And yeah, one by one, she puts them in his neck, and then she puts the rest right on his chest, and he gets dragged away. Up next is Heather's torment. No, spoke too soon. Thomas. I forgot about Tommy. Dane gives anybody a chance to run off to get set free, so Tommy raises his hand, so they unchain Tommy. And then they let him out the door, which has 2 miles of woods to the main road. So he tries to make a run for it. And there's 3 other people in the group of the outcasts in the credits, they're called the guards, aka the triplets. But we never know we never know their names. But anyway, they chase Tommy and shoot at him. And Tommy gets his foot caught in the bear trap. And then next up is Heather's torment. They strap her to a chair, and Emily puts this kind of cream on her face that bites into her skin. And Bradley has some words with Dane, telling him to unmask himself. So then Dane pulls off his mask and says something like, "You know what the irony of this is? You actually beat me." I don't remember the exact words, but believe me, it's a priceless quote. Trying to think if there's one more victim before Bridget. Oh well, I can't get them all, so. But anyway, before this, Curtis runs off. Curtis manages to untie himself from the chains, and he runs off. Dane shoots at him. Robbie tackles Dane, and then Dane stabs Robbie in the heart with a knife and kills him. I swear there was one more guy that got tormented. No, I think I got everybody before. Alright, next victim was Bridget. Bridget recognized Emily. So then everybody unmasked and introduced who they are. And Bridget actually apologizes to Emily. And Emily appreciates the apology, but wants her to do a favor for her. She wants Bridget to cut off Brad's fingers. And she doesn't want to. And while this is going on, Curtis makes it to that cop that confiscates Brad's marijuana earlier. And then the triplets shoot the cop, but Curtis gets away and makes it next door to Parker's house. So, by the way, he also takes the cop's gun, so Parker thinks he's armed with a gun. So Parker tells Parker with his own gun tells Curtis to put his gun down and turn around with his hands up. So Curtis does what he says, and then Parker knocks him out with the gun, knocks him out with the rifle actually, and then has him tied to a chair. And Curtis is trying to talk him into calling the police. And Parker talks about his military background. Talks about but anyway, back to Emily and Brad. Emily, Brad, and Bridget, actually. Brad cuts off... She then asks Brad to cut off Bridget's fingers. So Brad cuts off 2 of Bridget's fingers. And then Emily asks her if she wants him to stop. So she tries to talk Emily into cutting off Brad's fingers. And to give her a little motivation, Emily rubs that same cream that she rubs on Heather's face. She rubs it on Bridget's face, which eats at her skin, and Bridget still refuses. Remember what I said about someone being stupid? That I don't really feel bad about them? Well, that's Bridget. Which, by the way, turns out to be the character at the beginning of the movie. So then back to Curtis and Parker. Curtis is trying to get Parker to understand that there really is kids being tortured next door. And then when Parker mentioned Dane's last name and mentioned a kid named Dane, Curtis realized it's his friends that are doing these torments. And somehow Parker leaves Curtis tied up, but he goes next door to investigate with his rifle. And then Parker walks into a string trap that sets off a branch to hit him in the legs with a board with spikes on it. But then Parker managed to kill 2 of the triplets. First one approaches him and he shoots him. The second one walks right up to his body and Parker stabs him to death. And back at Curtis, he manages to tip over the chair he's tied to and untie himself. And he calls the police. And they say Black's robbing the place next door. He doesn't say Black's, but he says the other word that I will not use on my shows. Okay. Dane has Brad tied up now, trying to think of ways to get vengeance on Brad, because to him Brad was the worst of them all. So he finally stabs him in the spine, so he'll be paralyzed for life. And then they were going to be done with the rest of the victims. And Dane mentioned to Riggs, he's letting Riggs off easy because of one good deed Riggs done for him, which was give him a ride on a rainy day. So he was going to let Riggs off. But then Riggs kept on yelling, "Fuck you." So then Dane says he got a big mouth and then tries to have Andy cut off his tongue. And back in the woods, Curtis comes across Parker, and they both kind of confess something to each other, that Parker was really hiding while he watched his friends die. He really did nothing. He didn't really save anybody. And I forgot to mention, Curtis says his dad and his granddad served in the military themselves. And he mentioned he made all that up, that they really worked at the sawmill. So then as the outcast has Riggs tied to the chair, and he's getting ready to cut off Riggs' tongue. And then Curtis comes in and attempts to stop them. And Dane talks them into going through with it, and then Andy attempts to cut off Riggs' tongue as Curtis shoots him. And then Dane shoots at Curtis. Anyway, Curtis plays possum, and Dane approaches Curtis, pointing the gun at him, saying, "We should have shot you when we did." And then Emily shoots Dane, kills him. So then it's down to Emily and Jack, and they decide they're done with the torments. So then before she has Jack shoot her, she tells Kelly, "I'm sure you would have liked me if you got to know me." And then she turns her back on Jack as Jack shoots her in the back of the head. And then the cops come and approach Jack, telling him to put down the weapon. And Jack replies with, "There's more like us. And you're too late." And he shoots himself, and all the outcasts are dead. And then we cut to a few weeks later. Anyway, they show Kelly looking at herself in the mirror as she's opening pills, and then we cut to the beginning of the movie where Bridget goes into the BW barbecue place, and we hear the little boy ask his mom, "Why does her face look like that?" And that's how the movie ends. Anyway, that's all for this episode of I.N.SANE's Asylum. The doctor is out.